The sun was barely rising over London when Catherine Middleton opened her eyes on the most important day of her royal life. Her heart was beating fast as she realized that in just a few hours, millions of people around the world would be watching her every move. She had been preparing for this coronation day for months, but now that it was finally here, she felt both excited and nervous at the same time. Catherine slowly got out of bed in her private rooms at Kensington Palace. The palace was already buzzing with activity, even though it was still very early in the morning. Royal staff members were hurrying through the hallways, making sure everything was perfect for the big day. She could hear the gentle sounds of preparation coming from other parts of the palace, where Prince William was also getting ready. Her personal dresser and close friend Natasha Archer was already waiting for her with a warm smile. Natasha had been working with Catherine for many years and knew exactly how to make her feel comfortable on such an important day. The two women had spent countless hours together planning every single detail of Catherine's coronation look. Nothing had been left to chance. The most beautiful ivory silk dress was hanging carefully in Catherine's dressing room. This was not just any dress. It had been designed by Sarah Burton, who worked for the famous fashion house Alexander McQueen. The same designer had created Catherine's stunning wedding dress years earlier. Looking at the coronation dress now, Catherine felt a mix of emotions. The dress represented so much more than just clothing. It was a symbol of her journey from a regular young woman to someone who would one day become Queen of England. Catherine walked over to touch the dress gently. The fabric felt smooth and luxurious under her fingers. She could see the incredible detail work that had gone into making it. Tiny silver threads had been sewn into beautiful patterns across the bodice. The embroidery showed flowers and leaves that represented different parts of the United Kingdom. There were roses for England, thistles for Scotland, daffodils for Wales, and shamrocks for Ireland. Each stitch had been placed with care and precision. As Catherine began getting dressed, she thought about all the women who had worn similar outfits for royal ceremonies before her. She thought about Queen Elizabeth I, who had always shown such grace and dignity during her long reign. Catherine wanted to honor that tradition, while also bringing her own modern touch to the role. Her hands were shaking slightly as Natasha helped her step into the dress. The weight of the fabric and the responsibility it represented felt heavy on her shoulders. But as the dress settled perfectly around her body, Catherine began to feel more confident. She looked at herself in the large mirror and saw not just Catherine Middleton, but the future Queen Catherine looking back at her. In the room next door, Prince William was also getting dressed in his ceremonial military uniform. This was the same uniform that his grandfather, King George VI, had worn many years ago. William understood the importance of connecting the past with the present. He could feel the weight of history and tradition as he put on each piece of the outfit. Catherine could hear William moving around in his room, and occasionally they would catch each other's eyes through the connecting doorway. These small moments of connection helped both of them feel calmer. They had been through so many important events together, but this coronation felt different. This was the moment when they would officially step into their roles as the future king and queen. The morning light was getting brighter outside the palace windows. Soon it would be time to leave for Westminster Abbey, where the ceremony would take place. Catherine took one last look at herself in the mirror, took a deep breath, and prepared to make history. Catherine stood in front of her jewelry collection, knowing that every piece she chose today would tell a story to the world. Her stylist carefully lifted the George VI festoon necklace from its velvet case. This was not just any necklace. It had belonged to Queen Elizabeth I, and before that to the Queen Mother. The diamonds sparkled in the morning light as Catherine realized she was about to wear a piece of history that connected her to generations of royal women. The necklace felt cool against her skin as Natasha fastened it around her neck. Catherine looked in the mirror and saw how the diamonds created a beautiful frame around her face. She knew that people who had loved Queen Elizabeth I would see this necklace and remember the grace and kindness of the late queen. It was Catherine's way of honoring the woman who had welcomed her into the royal family with such warmth. But Catherine had made a special decision about how to wear this precious necklace. Instead of wearing it in the traditional way around her neck, she had chosen to wear it as a headpiece. This was something completely new and modern. The diamonds would sit delicately across her forehead like a beautiful crown made of light. Royal jewelry experts had never seen anything quite like this before. It was Catherine's way of respecting tradition while also making it her own. Every detail of Catherine's dress had been chosen with careful thought and meaning. The embroidery on her gown was not just decoration. Each flower and leaf had been specially selected to represent the 4 countries that make up the United Kingdom. The red roses stood for England, where Catherine had grown up and where she would rule. The purple thistles represented Scotland, a country she and William had come to love during their time living there as students. The bright yellow daffodils on her dress were for Wales, where William held the title of Prince of Wales. Catherine had visited Wales many times and had grown to appreciate its beautiful landscapes and proud culture. The green shamrocks represented Northern Ireland, completing the symbol of unity across all parts of the kingdom they would serve. The silver threads woven through these flowers caught the light as Catherine moved. Each thread had been placed by hand by skilled craftspeople who understood they were creating something that would be remembered for generations. The work had taken months to complete, with artisans working carefully to make sure every detail was perfect. Catherine had also insisted that her dress be made using sustainable materials wherever possible. She knew that young people around the world were concerned about the environment, and she wanted to show that the royal family shared these concerns. The silk had been sourced responsibly, and the embroidery threads were made using eco-friendly processes. This was Catherine's way of connecting with people who cared about protecting the planet. Prince William had made his own meaningful choices for the coronation. His military uniform was the same one his grandfather, King George VI, had worn during important ceremonies. The deep blue fabric and gold decorations looked magnificent, but more importantly, they connected William to his family's history of service to the country. When people saw him in this uniform, they would remember all the kings who had served before him. The couple had spent many evenings discussing these choices together. They wanted every element of their coronation appearance to have meaning and purpose. They knew that fashion experts and royal watchers would examine every detail, looking for clues about what kind of monarchs they planned to be. As Catherine put on her final pieces of jewelry, she felt the weight of all these symbols and meanings. She was not just getting dressed for a ceremony. She was putting on the visual representation of her commitment to serve the people of the United Kingdom with dignity, respect, and genuine care for their future. The Golden State Coach rolled slowly through the streets of London as thousands of people lined the sidewalks to catch a glimpse of Catherine and William. Inside the ornate carriage, Catherine felt her heart beating faster as she saw the enormous crowds waiting for them. She had attended many royal events before, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. The cheers from the people outside were so loud that they could hear them clearly through the thick walls of the coach. Catherine sat perfectly straight, her ivory dress spread elegantly around her in the carriage. The George VI festoon necklace, worn as a headpiece, caught every ray of sunlight that streamed through the coach windows. The diamonds seemed to create their own light, making Catherine look almost magical. People in the crowds were already taking pictures with their phones, trying to capture this historic moment. As the coach approached Westminster Abbey, Catherine could see the ancient building where so many kings and queens had been crowned before them. The abbey looked magnificent with its tall spires reaching toward the sky. Red carpets had been rolled out, and guards in their ceremonial uniforms stood at attention. Everything looked perfect and ready for the most important ceremony of their lives. When the coach finally stopped, a hush fell over the crowd. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. The door of the carriage opened, and William stepped out first. He looked handsome and confident in his military uniform, but Catherine could see a hint of nervousness in his eyes. He turned back to help Catherine out of the coach, offering his hand in a gesture that showed both his gentlemanly nature and his love for his wife. Catherine emerged from the carriage like something from a fairy tale. Her dress flowed perfectly as she stepped onto the red carpet. The morning breeze caught the delicate fabric, making it move gracefully around her. The crowd gasped in admiration at how beautiful she looked. Photographers clicked their cameras rapidly, knowing they were capturing images that would be seen around the world. The couple began their slow walk up the steps to Westminster Abbey. Catherine's dress train followed behind her like a river of silk. Every step was measured and careful, but she managed to look natural and relaxed despite the formal setting. William walked beside her, occasionally glancing over to make sure she was comfortable. Their connection was obvious to everyone watching. People in the crowd were already sharing photos on social media. Within minutes, images of Catherine's stunning appearance were spreading across the internet. Comments poured in from people around the world who were amazed by how elegant and approachable she looked at the same time. Many people said she looked like a real princess from a storybook, but also like someone they could be friends with. The Abbey bells began to ring as Catherine and William reached the entrance. The sound echoed across London, announcing to the city that the coronation ceremony was about to begin. Catherine paused for just a moment at the threshold, taking a deep breath before stepping inside the historic building. Television cameras captured every angle of their arrival. News reporters described Catherine's dress in detail, explaining the significance of her jewelry choices and the meaning behind the embroidered flowers. Fashion experts were already calling her look timeless and perfect for the occasion. As Catherine and William disappeared into the Abbey, the crowds outside continued to cheer and wave their flags. Everyone knew they had just witnessed something truly special that they would remember for the rest of their lives. Inside Westminster Abbey, Catherine felt overwhelmed by the grandeur surrounding her. The ancient stone walls seemed to hold centuries of history, and she could almost feel the presence of all the kings and queens who had been crowned in this same place. Hundreds of guests filled the wooden pews, all dressed in their finest clothes, and watching her every move. The atmosphere was both exciting and solemn at the same time. Archbishop Justin Welby stood at the altar in his magnificent ceremonial robes. His voice was strong and clear as he began the ancient words of the coronation ceremony. Catherine listened carefully to every word, knowing that this moment would change her life forever. She tried to stay focused on the religious meaning of the ceremony, but she could not help noticing all the cameras recording everything for people watching around the world. The most emotional moment came when Catherine looked toward the front pew and saw her 3 children sitting together. Prince George looked very serious and grown up in his formal suit. Princess Charlotte was trying her best to sit still, but Catherine could see she was getting a little restless. Prince Louis, the youngest, was looking around with wide eyes at all the magnificent decorations in the Abbey. When Catherine's eyes met those of her children, she felt tears starting to form. Here she was, participating in one of the most important ceremonies in British history, but all she could think about was how proud she was of her little ones. They were being so well behaved during such a long and formal event. For just a moment, she was not the future Queen of England. She was simply a mother who loved her children very much. William noticed Catherine's emotional moment and gently squeezed her hand. This small gesture reminded her that they were in this together, just as they had been since their wedding day years earlier. His steady presence beside her gave her the strength to continue with the ceremony. She squeezed his hand back, and they shared a look that spoke volumes about their partnership and love. The ceremony continued with prayers and blessings that had been spoken for hundreds of years. Catherine knelt when she was supposed to kneel and stood when she was supposed to stand. Her dress moved gracefully with every movement, and the diamonds in her headpiece sparkled in the colored light that streamed through the Abbey's stained glass windows. When it came time for Catherine and William to make their solemn promises, their voices were clear and strong. They looked directly at each other as they spoke the ancient words, and everyone watching could see the sincerity in their faces. These were not just ceremonial words to them. They truly meant every promise they were making to serve their country and its people. During one particularly moving prayer, Catherine closed her eyes and felt the full weight of the moment. She thought about all the people who had supported her journey to this point. She thought about Queen Elizabeth II, who had always treated her with such kindness. She thought about her own parents, who had raised her to be strong and caring. Most of all, she thought about the millions of people who would look to her for leadership and inspiration in the years to come. The abbey was filled with beautiful music throughout the ceremony. The choir's voices seemed to lift everyone's spirits and make the ancient building feel even more magical. Catherine found herself moved by the power of the music and the words being sung. Everything about this moment felt both timeless and completely new at the same time. Even before the coronation ceremony had finished, people around the world were already sharing their thoughts and photos on social media. The hashtag about Catherine's dress was trending on Twitter within the first hour. Millions of people were posting their opinions about her stunning appearance and what it meant for the future of the royal family. Fashion bloggers were working frantically to analyze every detail of Catherine's outfit. They zoomed in on photos to examine the embroidery work and tried to identify the exact shade of ivory used in her dress. Some bloggers had prepared multiple posts in advance, but they had to quickly rewrite everything, because Catherine's choice to wear the necklace as a headpiece was completely unexpected. No one had predicted this creative and modern twist on traditional royal jewelry. Instagram was flooded with photos comparing Catherine's coronation look to her wedding dress from years earlier. People loved seeing how her style had evolved, while still maintaining the elegance and grace that had made her such a beloved figure. Many users posted side-by-side photos showing both dresses, with captions about how Catherine had grown into her role as a future queen. On TikTok, young creators were already making videos about Catherine's makeup and hair. Beauty influencers tried to recreate her natural, glowing look using products they had at home. The videos showed step-by-step tutorials for achieving Catherine's elegant updo hairstyle. Many creators praised how fresh and radiant she looked, saying her makeup was perfect for such an important day. Facebook groups dedicated to royal fashion saw their membership numbers grow rapidly throughout the day. People joined these groups to discuss the deeper meaning behind Catherine's clothing choices. Members shared articles about the symbolism of the embroidered flowers and debated whether Catherine's modern approach to wearing traditional jewelry was appropriate for such a formal ceremony. Professional photographers and amateur photographers alike were sharing their best shots from the ceremony. Every angle of Catherine's dress was captured and analyzed. People particularly loved the photos that showed her dress train flowing behind her as she walked through the abbey. The way the fabric caught the light streaming through the stained glass windows created some truly breathtaking images. Royal fashion experts were being interviewed on live television and radio shows throughout the day. They explained the significance of Catherine's choices to audiences who might not understand all the traditions and protocols involved in royal dressing. Many experts praised Catherine for finding the perfect balance between honoring the past and embracing the future. International news outlets were translating articles about Catherine's appearance into dozens of languages. People in countries around the world were learning about British royal traditions through discussions of what Catherine wore and why she wore it. Her fashion choices were becoming a way for people to connect with and understand British culture. The economic impact of Catherine's appearance was already being calculated by fashion industry analysts. Searches for similar dresses and jewelry were increasing rapidly on shopping websites. Fashion brands were preparing to release their own versions of Catherine's look, knowing that many people would want to recreate elements of her style for their own special occasions. Even people who normally did not follow royal news found themselves drawn into the conversation about Catherine's coronation appearance. Her ability to look both regal and relatable had captured the attention of a much broader audience than usual royal events typically attracted. While the main ceremony was proceeding with perfect dignity and protocol, some of the most memorable moments happened when nobody was expecting them. Princess Charlotte, sitting in the front pew with her brothers, leaned over to whisper something in Prince Louis's ear during one of the more solemn parts of the ceremony. Whatever she said made the young prince giggle quietly, and the cameras caught this sweet moment between the siblings. Catherine noticed her children's interaction from where she stood at the altar. Without breaking her composure or interrupting the ceremony, she gave them a gentle but firm look that every parent in the world would recognize. It was the universal parental expression that says, "Please behave," without making a scene. This moment showed everyone that despite all the royal protocol and ceremony, Catherine was still very much a hands-on mother who knew how to manage her children. The viral nature of this moment was immediate. Parents watching the ceremony around the world felt an instant connection to Catherine. They had all been in similar situations where they needed to keep their children well behaved during important events. Social media was soon filled with comments from parents sharing their own stories about trying to keep kids quiet during weddings, graduations, and other formal occasions. Another unexpected moment happened as Catherine and William were leaving the abbey after the ceremony. A sudden gust of wind caught Catherine's dress train, lifting it dramatically behind her. For a few seconds, she looked like she was floating or flying. Photographers captured this magical moment, and the images immediately reminded people of fairy tale princesses. The wind seemed to have perfect timing, creating a moment of pure beauty that nobody could have planned. William's quick reaction to help manage Catherine's dress in the wind showed his attentiveness to his wife's needs. Even during this historic and formal occasion, he was looking out for her comfort and dignity. This small gesture of care did not go unnoticed by people watching. Many social media users commented on how sweet it was to see their genuine partnership, even during such a public moment. During the ceremony, there was also a brief moment when Catherine's necklace headpiece shifted slightly. Without anyone else noticing, William discreetly helped adjust it back into place during a quiet moment in the proceedings. This intimate gesture between husband and wife, captured by the cameras, showed their teamwork and mutual support. People loved seeing this private moment of care in such a public setting. Prince George, trying very hard to be grown-up and well-behaved, had his own viral moment when he was caught on camera yawning during one of the longer prayers. The sight of the young future king fighting sleep during the ceremony made people smile and remember that he was still just a child, despite his important position. Many viewers found this moment endearing and relatable. The abbey's acoustics created another unexpected moment when Catherine's dress made a soft, rustling sound as she knelt during part of the ceremony. The microphones picked up this gentle sound, and viewers at home could hear the silk moving. This small detail made the ceremony feel more intimate and real to people watching on television. They felt like they were right there in the abbey witnessing history. These unplanned moments became some of the most shared and discussed parts of the entire coronation. People loved seeing the human side of such a formal and traditional ceremony. The viral moments showed that Catherine and William were real people with real emotions, not just figures going through ancient motions. Within days of the coronation ceremony, fashion designers around the world were already sketching new designs inspired by Catherine's stunning appearance. The ivory silk dress had created such a strong visual impact that fashion houses immediately began working on their own interpretations of her elegant style. High-end designers and affordable fashion brands alike saw the commercial potential in offering customers a way to capture some of Catherine's royal glamour. The specific shade of ivory that Catherine wore quickly became known in fashion circles as Coronation cream. Paint companies noticed increased interest in similar colors for home decorating projects. Wedding dress designers reported that brides were specifically requesting this exact shade for their own special days. The color became so popular that several major retailers created entire collections around this soft, elegant tone. Catherine's decision to wear her hair in an elegant updo that showcased her diamond headpiece influenced hairstyles around the world. Bridal stylists began receiving requests for similar looks from brides who wanted to recreate Catherine's sophisticated style for their weddings. Hair salons reported increased bookings for formal updos, with customers bringing photos of Catherine's coronation hairstyle as reference. The sustainable fashion community was particularly excited about Catherine's environmentally conscious choices. Fashion blogs and magazines wrote detailed articles about how the royal couple had incorporated eco-friendly materials into their coronation outfits. This royal endorsement of sustainable fashion practices encouraged many consumers to think more carefully about their own clothing choices and their impact on the environment. Fashion students at design schools around the world began studying the construction techniques visible in Catherine's dress. The hand embroidery work became a subject of particular interest, with many students wanting to learn traditional British craftsmanship methods. Embroidery classes saw increased enrollment as people became fascinated by the skilled work that had gone into creating Catherine's gown. The economic impact of what fashion experts called the Catherine effect was estimated to be worth millions of dollars to British fashion brands. Retailers reported significant increases in sales of items similar to pieces Catherine had worn. The Alexander McQueen fashion house, which had designed her dress, saw renewed interest in their other designs and a boost in their international reputation. Jewelry designers were particularly inspired by Catherine's creative use of the George VI festoon necklace as a headpiece. This innovative styling choice opened up new possibilities for how traditional jewelry could be worn in modern ways. Jewelry stores began marketing their pieces as versatile items that could be worn in multiple ways, following Catherine's example of creative styling. Fashion magazines around the world dedicated special issues to analyzing Catherine's coronation look. These magazines sold exceptionally well, showing how much public interest there was in understanding every detail of her outfit. Fashion editors praised Catherine's ability to honor tradition while still expressing her own personal style and modern sensibilities. The influence of Catherine's coronation style extended beyond just clothing and accessories. Event planners began incorporating similar color schemes and elegant details into weddings and other special occasions. The overall aesthetic that Catherine had created became a popular theme for people planning their own important celebrations. International fashion weeks began featuring collections inspired by royal elegance and traditional British style. Designers from countries around the world drew inspiration from Catherine's perfect balance of formality and approachability. The coronation had reminded the global fashion industry of the enduring appeal of classic, well-crafted clothing. Catherine and William's coronation appearance sparked important discussions about the role of the monarchy in modern society. Many young people who had previously shown little interest in royal traditions found themselves drawn into conversations about what the couple represented. Their ability to appear both respectful of history and connected to contemporary values impressed people across different age groups and backgrounds. Cultural commentators noted how Catherine and William had managed to make an ancient ceremony feel relevant to modern audiences. Their genuine emotions during the service and their obvious care for each other resonated with people who might normally dismiss royal events as outdated spectacles. The couple had successfully bridged the gap between centuries-old traditions and current social expectations. International media outlets praised the way Catherine and William had conducted themselves during the ceremony. Foreign journalists wrote about how the couple had presented a positive image of Britain to the world. Their dignity, grace, and obvious commitment to their roles helped improve international perceptions of the British royal family during a time when monarchies faced questions about their relevance. Religious leaders from various faiths commented on the spiritual significance they observed in Catherine and William's behavior during the coronation ceremony. Many noted how their reverence and sincerity during the religious portions of the service had enhanced the sacred meaning of the occasion. The couple's genuine participation in the prayers and blessings had shown that they took the spiritual aspects of their roles seriously. Social media conversations revealed how Catherine's fashion choices had helped make royal traditions more accessible to diverse audiences. People from different cultural backgrounds found ways to connect with the symbolism in her dress and jewelry. The flowers representing different parts of the United Kingdom became talking points for discussions about unity and inclusion in modern Britain. Educational institutions reported increased interest in courses about British history and culture following the coronation. Students wanted to understand more about the traditions they had witnessed and the historical context behind the ceremony. Catherine and William's coronation had created what educators called a teachable moment that helped people learn about their country's heritage. The couple's environmental consciousness, demonstrated through their sustainable fashion choices, aligned with values important to many young people. This connection helped bridge generational divides about the relevance of the monarchy. Younger audiences appreciated seeing their environmental concerns reflected in such a traditional institution. Mental health advocates noted how Catherine and William's obvious emotional support for each other during the ceremony provided a positive example of partnership and teamwork. Their relationship demonstrated healthy ways of handling pressure and supporting each other through challenging situations. This modeling of good relationship dynamics was particularly appreciated by people working in counseling and family services. The diversity of positive reactions across different social media platforms showed how successfully Catherine and William had appealed to various demographic groups. Their coronation had brought together people who might normally have very different opinions about the royal family. The ceremony had created a shared positive experience that helped unite different communities. Political analysts observed how the couple's approach to their coronation had helped stabilize public opinion about the monarchy during uncertain times. Their authenticity and obvious dedication to their roles had reassured people who might have been questioning the institution's future. Catherine and William had shown that the monarchy could evolve and remain relevant while still honoring its historical foundations. 6 months after the coronation ceremony, the impact of Catherine and William's historic day continued to influence public opinion and cultural trends around the world. Museum exhibitions featuring detailed replicas of Catherine's coronation dress were drawing record-breaking crowds in multiple countries. Visitors often spent long periods studying the intricate embroidery work, marveling at the skill and craftsmanship that had gone into creating such a masterpiece. The photographs from Catherine and William's coronation day had become some of the most requested images for official royal merchandise and commemorative items. Coffee mugs, tea towels, and decorative plates featuring their coronation portraits were bestsellers in gift shops across the United Kingdom. The proceeds from these sales supported various charitable causes that were important to the royal couple, extending the positive impact of their special day. Social media algorithms continued to surface coronation content regularly, as users kept sharing and resharing their favorite moments from the ceremony. The images of Catherine in her stunning dress and innovative headpiece remained popular months later, with new people discovering and appreciating the photos every day. The staying power of these images demonstrated how successfully the couple had created truly memorable and meaningful visual moments. Fashion historians and cultural experts were already predicting that Catherine's coronation look would be remembered as one of the defining royal fashion moments of the early 21st century. They compared her style choices to iconic looks from previous generations of royal women, noting how Catherine had successfully honored the past while creating something entirely new and personal. The sustainable fashion movement continued to reference Catherine's environmentally conscious choices as an example of how high-profile figures could use their influence to promote responsible consumption. Fashion schools began incorporating lessons about sustainable luxury and ethical fashion practices into their curricula, often using Catherine's coronation outfit as a case study. Wedding planners and bridal stylists reported that the Catherine coronation effect was still influencing brides' choices for their own special days. The elegant updo hairstyle, the ivory color palette, and the concept of wearing jewelry in unexpected ways had all become popular trends in the wedding industry. Many brides wanted to capture some of the timeless elegance that Catherine had displayed. The success of Catherine and William's coronation appearance had established them as a modern royal couple capable of balancing tradition with contemporary relevance. Their approach to the ceremony had created a template for how future royal events might be conducted, showing that ancient protocols could coexist with authentic emotion and modern values. Television documentaries about the coronation continued to attract large audiences, with many focusing specifically on the fashion and styling choices that had made such a strong impression. These programs often featured interviews with the craftspeople who had created Catherine's dress and jewelry, giving viewers insight into the months of work that had gone into preparing for the big day. The international fashion community continued to draw inspiration from Catherine's coronation style. Fashion weeks around the world regularly featured collections that referenced elements of her look, from the color palette to the embroidery techniques to the overall aesthetic of elegant simplicity. The coronation had reminded the global fashion industry of the enduring appeal of classic, well-made clothing. Most importantly, The emotional authenticity that Catherine and William had displayed during their coronation ceremony had created a lasting connection with people around the world. Their genuine love for each other and their obvious commitment to their roles had reassured the public about the future of the monarchy. They had shown that it was possible to honor history while remaining true to themselves and relevant to modern life.